Hi, I'm Shelley Behan, and welcome back to Miss DUI Arizona. We're very fortunate today. We're being joined by Lee Giermann from Smart Start. They make ignition interlock and other breath testing devices. Lee, welcome to Miss DUI Arizona.
Thanks, Michelle. It's good to be here.
So tell us a little bit about the devices that you have here.
Well, Smart Start is primarily known for their ignition interlock devices, but we also create, produce, and market what are called portable alcohol monitoring devices as well. This small one here is called a breath check. This is the newest in our family of devices. It's, as you can tell, a very small device, so it's unobtrusive in that sense, and it's also connected to a cell phone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone. So it uses Bluetooth connectivity there. Also, because of that, it can be used just as a locator or as a check-in device because it uses the GPS that's in the telephone. This is another device, a portable device called the Smart Mobile. This is a device that is can be used for higher level offenders. Actually, every level offender, we would generally recommend this for low level offenders. This is also a device that both have cameras on them for facial detection. This also has GPS, so whenever the test is taken, you know the location. And all the information that these then acquire is sent to the monitoring authority, who's able to make assessments about what's going on with their client. This would be the device that we're primarily going to be talking about. This would be the head unit of an ignition interlock device. This would be the device that the client would blow into in their car.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about how the ignition interlock devices work?
Sure. All the devices have a similarity in that they all have what's called a fuel cell in them. And it's an alcohol-specific fuel cell. So when air that has gone through the lungs and then is saturated with some degree of alcohol goes across these cells register that. And the degree of alcohol, the more numbers of alcohol molecules, the higher the number will be that is sent to the device. So it measures the amount of alcohol that is in the breath of whoever blows into it.
And so, since it's attached in the car, kind of what happens with the car when they blow into it?
You bet. So there's wiring, as you can see, that goes from here to another unit that ultimately goes and connects to the ignition. And if the sample that is given is beyond the allowable, which in Arizona is 0.02, it will not allow that car to start. There's sometimes a myth that some people think, well, if I'm driving down the car, is it automatically going to stop my car? Never. It will never do that.
Okay. Now, can the devices be installed on other types of vehicles besides automobiles?
They can. In Arizona, we've actually installed them on some motorcycles. Have to be careful about the setup of the motorcycle. Usually it helps if there's some saddlebags or something in the motorcycle where we can put some of the electronic parts so that they don't get hit by water, for instance. Could be put in a boat as well. Either way, again, you'd have to be careful of making sure they don't get wet, but yeah.
Okay. Now, are there any recent changes to the interlock rules?
In Arizona, in the last 2 years, there's a very significant change. In July 1st of 2018, the law changed that now required that people who had ignition interlocks installed also have to have a camera. Which I think was a good measure. It's a great anti-circumvention device because now we know who's actually blowing into the device.
And so with the camera installed, will the car still allow someone else to drive it, even with the device there?
Yes, it would still allow someone else to drive it, but before it starts, it's always going to ask for a breath sample. So if I was a person who had it in my car and my wife wanted to get in and drive, she's still going to have to blow into the device.
You mentioned there was a recent change. Are there any anticipated developments coming?
But relative to the law, none that I am familiar with right now. Relative to the devices, there's always research and they're trying to update them and improve them. We might see some more use of Bluetooth connectivity and reporting in some of the devices in the future.
So you mentioned sort of the technology potential changes going along with that. Are the size and shape or the design regulated by any agency?
Not to my knowledge. I don't believe they really regulate the size. That's going to be primarily the job of the manufacturers, and it behooves them to try to make them probably as small as they could be so that they're not this big giant thing that someone is holding on to. So most of them are around the same size, and they all function just the same way with some type of alcohol cell.
Okay. And are there different designs? I've heard about soda cups and that kind of thing.
You bet. There is a manufacturer out there that has a device that's very much like this, and they have it designed to fit into a soda cup. The idea being so that whoever is using it, it looks like they're drinking out of a soda instead of blowing into their interlock device.
Okay. Now, for most people in Arizona, they have to have the ignition interlock device on their vehicle for 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I know about a 6-month deferment that's possible. Can you tell our viewers about that?
You bet. A 6-month deferral is possible, and that's generally going to be for first-time offenders, and there are a number of requirements that go along with that. First of all, they can't have their DUI must be after 2012. They're going to need to undergo about 16 hours of alcohol education. They can't have had 2 DUIs that were above .08, and they certainly can't have any aggravated DUIs, and then they're going to have pretty much a perfect record in blowing into their device. Assuming they get all those, then they would be eligible for a deferment.
All right, so let's talk about the perfect record of blowing into the device. You mentioned that the limit was a .02.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so what happens when somebody blows into the device and it registers a positive result?
Okay. First of all, and we'll talk a little bit about this, assuming it is not just mouth alcohol, but it's ingested and metabolized alcohol, it will register a fail. It will ask for another test. And it'll do that twice. And if they fail twice, then what happens is that will be reported to the monitoring authority, and ultimately it will also be reported to the MVD.
Okay. And what are the potential penalties for a positive result?
More than likely they will have additional time required to have that interlock in their car.
Okay. And are there things that can cause a false positive reading?
You bet. So we talk about mouth alcohol. That's the most common. If someone were to have mouthwash in their mouth right before they blew, something I just heard about recently was some of the new vaping material. It has alcohol built into it. That would certainly be something I would counsel someone to be careful of. What we always tell people to do is before you blow into your device, have a bottle of water handy, rinse your mouth out, and then blow into the device.
Now, are there any common malfunctions that people experience with the devices?
There aren't anything that I would call a common malfunction. It's an electronic device, and as such, from time to time, there can be something that goes wrong, but there's nothing that I would say, this is something that we always look out for. They're actually pretty reliable devices.
Okay. And I'm willing to bet the question on everybody's mind would be, how much do they cost?
How much do they cost? Well, in Arizona, the device, it's a lease device, and the lease is $69 a month, plus there's another $10 for a modem, which has been required and goes along with the GPS and the camera. When it is first installed, there's an additional one-time $20 fee that goes to the state of Arizona.
Now, you mentioned the camera as an anti-circumvention device. Are there any other ways that the device guards against cheating?
You bet. There are different blow patterns, what we call blow patterns, into the device. Ours is what's called a blow hum. That is an anti-circumvention device because if you introduced a tube with air from a cylinder, of course it couldn't do that. The other things that it also has is some humidity and pressure as well. So those all put together, and you add the camera to it, it's sort of difficult to overcome the device.
Now, can the device be moved between vehicles?
You bet. You sell a car, buy a car, or whatever, it can be moved very easily. All you have to do is go to one of our service centers, and they can move it readily. All
right, and Lee, if you could just show our viewers how the ignition interlock device works.
Absolutely. So right now, as you can see, it says blow. So this would be the indicator that you might get if you were in your car. So it's asking for a breath sample. So you would do that. And again, the pattern of this device is a blow and a hum. Now, if you can zoom in on that, you'll see that the device says that it is analyzing the sample. That tells me it's done, and it says, I passed. Yay! So I'm good so far. Now let me demonstrate to you what happens if there is mouth alcohol present. So this is a sample of some mouthwash that has a high volume of alcohol. Okay, the device is almost ready again. And here we go. Okay, now you'll see us analyzing. This will take a moment or two longer, and more than likely this will be a fail.
And while it's analyzing, let me ask you a question. Let's say that there are 2 or 3 different breath test results. Does it clear it out somehow?
Yeah, so that was a fail, so I violated. So yes, what happens is, and that's one of the things, by the way, you mentioned about the device that was in the cup. Mm-hmm. That has a potential to not clear out as well and could cause a false positive, which is why we don't have a device like that, so that it has the opportunity to clear out, clear the fuel cell out. So now it's asking to blow again, and if I do this very quickly, rinse my mouth out, which is one of the things that we ask our clients to do, it should be a passed test. See? There you go, that passed. So again, that just sort of indicates the importance of making sure that you don't introduce anything that has alcohol into your mouth prior to taking a test. If you think you do, or if you've just had something to eat, always rinse your mouth out with water before you blow.
Okay. Now the device is not just to start the car. It will also request a breath sample as the car is going. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about that?
You bet. So the initial sample that is required to start the car. And then about 6 minutes after that, the device will ask for what is called a rolling retest. Again, that's another part of the anti-circumvention mechanism because believe it or not, there are some people who might actually try to have someone else blow into the device for them to start the car. Much harder to do now with the camera. And so once you're driving, it will continue to ask for those, depending on the length of your drive. The first one was in the first 6 minutes. Thereafter, about every 18 or 20 minutes, it will ask for another sample.
And so it triggers just like it did there with the beeping?
Correct.
And then how long does a person have to be able to respond?
You've got 6 minutes, I believe, and it'll count down. You will watch it count down on the screen, so it's not like you need to all of a sudden pull over and get too concerned. You've got 6 minutes to find a place, a store, pull out, pull over, and give the sample.
Okay. Well, Lee, it was an absolute pleasure. Can you tell the viewers how to get in touch with you if they have more questions about Smart Start or the ignition interlock device?
You bet. If you would like to contact me or you have any questions, you can contact me personally at 505-350-5840. Or we've got the same number on all of these cards. This is the corporate number. This is where you would call if you wanted to schedule an installation at any one of our locations. Thank you.
All right. Well, Lee, thanks for stopping by, Ms. DUI Arizona. Thanks, viewers, and stay safe, stay healthy, and stay defended. Bye now.